All right, we're live. Ian, thank you for joining me today. It's awesome to be chatting with you. I'm glad you're not driving the car, as we spoke about earlier.
Thank you, Chiedo. Yes, I'm safely parked by the side of the road.
Good role model. So if you could start by telling me what you're doing today with your career and what's the current state of affairs, so to speak.
Sure. I own an IT services company, and we work throughout the state of Virginia. And as you can tell, I'm in a car. I am often in a car, meeting with clients and prospects. We service Washington, D.C., Richmond, Harrisonburg, and Charlottesville, and all points in between. So I'm often traveling throughout the state. But it all started with a passion around technology that occurred when I was in high school back in the 90s, and I started the business in 97. So current state of affairs, we've got a team of 20 folks, and we're an
Sheesh.
outsourced IT department.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So how did you get your first glimpse of, I guess, the computer realm? So what was that like? You said that was in high school?
Yeah, probably like yourself, Chado, just passionate with tinkering with technology, and a lot of people are drawn into it through recreation, playing games. I wanted to watch the latest movies. I wanted to play the latest video games. So when I was 11 years old, I took a VCR repair class because I couldn't afford a new VCR. So I wanted to I wanted to get a used one and fix it up. And then through sort of like entertainment electronics, I got into building my own computers for gaming, and the rest is history.
So one, I can't believe they had VCR repair classes. Like the thought of going to like a Blu-ray disc repair class just doesn't even sound like something that would be an option. Two,
Right.
so who was the motivator for you? So for me it was my dad. So my dad was in IT, and so he was always just giving me books about software, giving me computers to toy around with, parts to play with, saying, "Hey, here's this thing. See what you can do with it." Who was that person in your life?
Yeah. Uh, it wasn't my father. Now, my father is technical in his own right, but by the time that I was born when he was 39, so he was a phone freak back in the 50s. Um, but it was really my circle of friends. So friends like Josh Glover, Paul Southerington, that were excited about technology, and we started a bulletin board system out of a 386 so that we could play games online and share files and photos prior to the internet. So it was really that circle of friends that got me going with it.
That's so cool, circle of friends. So, just because we don't have a bunch of nerds like you and I all watching, can you define phone freaking for the general population?
Bone freaking. Um,
Phone freaking.
oh, phone freaking. Um, yeah, so phone freaking, back in the day where you had Ma Bell telephone monopoly, um, it was a fairly restrictive system. You had to lease your phone from the phone company and pay a monthly fee. Um,
Sounds like today.
yeah. Um, yeah, well, it's kind of come full circle. There was a period of deregulation, and then the
Yeah.
cellular industries kind of sprung up in the old model. But my father was taking phones out of apartment buildings that were being demolished in New York City and installing them himself into his apartment. He was, using tones or mechanical bypasses so that he could make free phone calls from payphones. So it was just a number of ways of sort of hacking the telephone monopoly to have a little more freedom, I guess.
That's awesome. That's fun. I think that's what Steve Jobs and Wozniak were like getting into, right? Like I was reading a biography about them the other day, and I think
Yeah,
they. That's
a lot of
awesome.
guys. Yeah, a lot of guys of that generation had their roots in that, and I guess the difference between Steve Jobs and my father is my father stopped, and Jobs kept with it.
Yeah, it worked out for Jobs. Okay, so your friend circle, they got you involved in IT, and so I guess you were all motivating each other. Um, at what point did it become more than a hobby?
Well, I guess pretty early on, I was fairly motivated to be entrepreneurial because I didn't have any other way of sort of funding the habit, shall we say. So I wanted to find ways to turn a buck with it, and uh, so I would take an older computer and I would fix it up and then sell it. I would network with teachers, and they would refer me to a friend that would need a repair at home. So I was starting to do it, for cash on the side when I was in high school.
Wow. And so what did you do in college? Did you go to college, or did you just say, I'm already making money in this new frontier, why do it?
Yeah. So I think again it came back to feeling like I couldn't afford to go to college and I didn't really have a good roadmap there. Some of that was because even in high school, the business started conflicting um, with the academic schedule. So I found myself, chasing the dollar a little more than I probably should have instead of working on my studies. So I really stuck with it after graduating high school. I started a small retail computer store in Stanton, and started hiring my friends, many of whom were going to college, to work with me in the store time on summer breaks, and other friends that were maybe still in high school that were a year behind me.
Ah, that's great. That's the I think too many people go to college just to go to college. But if you're doing something you're passionate about, that there's a career path for, there's no shame in continuing to do that. It's funny, when I went to college, I actually planned to drop out halfway with like some like $1 million like software idea. It didn't happen, but that was my mindset going in. I was thinking, okay, yeah, let me satisfy my parents, my family, respect them, but then let me create this awesome thing halfway through, and then just be done with it. Didn't happen. So you lived the dream. You got to start a business right out of college, and it has obviously gone well. So you said you launched a computer retail business. So you were just selling computer parts and repairs, that sort of thing?
Yes, so we were assembling computers. So I either assisted or led a small team to build over 500 computers by hand. Um,
Wow.
we also did retail sales. So we would custom build computers. We would sell the parts and pieces, and we had a service center, and then we had field service where we would go out to homes and businesses and fix computers. And we worked in some variation of that modality for about 10 years. And then starting in 2007, just the impact to businesses of being down um, started to be so great that we had to change,
Yeah.
and we saw a real split around home users not really caring about downtime or data loss that much. I mean, they didn't
Hmm.
enjoy it, but they weren't going to spend thousands of dollars to try to prevent it.
Yeah.
And businesses really needing something different. So that got us going in a pretty different direction after about 10 years.
Sweet. So what was that new direction? Just how did you make that pivot, I guess?
Yeah, it was a challenging pivot to make because I personally had a lot of deep relationships to many residential accounts that had helped me get started.
Hmm.
And uh, you know what I saw though was it was tearing our team apart. We had
Yeah.
um, technicians going out to service those accounts, and they really needed a whole different playbook than the business accounts, and it was pissing off one segment of the population or the other. So we decided to professionalize and to climb the value chain and to spin off the residential business. I sold it to a competitor and to focus on the commercial accounts. Um, and then growing, having the business in a pretty rural area, there weren't a lot of business accounts at that time that were really a great fit. A lot of business accounts weren't fully automated. They might have had a couple of computers in the accounting department, but it wasn't, fully mainstream. So we had to really engineer things in a fashion that was very robust, so that we wouldn't have to be running out to do repairs on a daily basis, that you can handle in a more urban setting, if all of your clients are really, tightly packed. But if you've got clients that you've got to, drive 30 minutes or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Augusta County is the biggest county in Virginia geographically. That challenged us to engineer things a little more robustly.
That's great.
I think that set us up to really be able to grow thereafter.
That's great. So that brings us to today. Where are you going tomorrow? What's your roadmap? Anything that's not private information.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think fundamentally we're trying to. I use the analogy of running the marathon, and it's about constantly getting better. You want to start out with. If you come out in a marathon and mile 1 is your best mile, you've got a long way to go. So you want to have consistency and constant improvement. So we're really looking to just build that maturity and that consistency, and because the fact of the matter is, so much is coming on to IT, that IT is really becoming the foundation for all business. And we have to have that structure to support it, because we've just seen exponential growth with the stuff that are coming onto networks. So we want to have the most stable platform so that we can compete geographically across the entire state and Washington, D.C.
That's fantastic. So you obviously have, sounds like 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur. Which is funny because, when we first met, I thought you were maybe 5-10 years older than me. And then you tell me these stories of going way back when. And I'm like, okay, I misread that situation. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are thinking about it?
Well, I think that the marathon analogy is a pretty good one. And I may only be 5 or 10 years older. I was born in '79. I don't know when you were born, but
I was born in '90. So hey, yeah, we're close then.
Yeah. My own journey is one of really, taking a passion at an early age and sticking with it. And I see a lot of businesses, and there's pros and cons with that. Don't get me wrong. But I see a lot of businesses, go out of business because people throw in the towel for whatever reason. They're not in it for the long run. They're looking for a fast buck, or some sort of shiny golden parachute. And often that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, it might happen after 30 years. So I'd really just. And I think the reason why I've probably been successful with it is that I never have had it easy. I've never known anything else. I haven't ever worked for somebody else and sort of set my standards lower to maybe somebody else's standards, and sort of had that cop out maybe. So I've always just challenged myself, and I think that's enabled me to kind of run the long race.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's so important to be passionate about what you do, because when you're passionate about what you do, it's that much easier to really persist. Because otherwise, when it gets tough, why would you proceed if you didn't love what you were doing? Yeah,
and I think probably another thing that's enabled me to stick with it is I'll probably get into one aspect of the company for about 2 years, and then I'll try to delegate that off of my plate. So right now I'm very passionate about sales. I've been in the sales capacity for about a year now, kind of spinning up a full sales team. I'll probably be in it for another year, maybe 2. Probably at the 3-year mark, I'll be building a sales team and I'll be spinning that off.
Yeah, I understand. It's the entrepreneurs, and a similar thing with me right now. I've gotten really passionate about marketing over these past few months, and I'll probably be really passionate about marketing for like another like 2, 3 years, and then I'll delegate more and figure out how I can, I guess, just like re-challenge myself. I feel like once I get to the point where like I feel like I've truly grasped something, and I can foresee what my next day, week, month is going to look like. Then I'm almost like, what's the point? Like I want to delegate that and then challenge myself again. So I love that.
Yeah, I think that's such a formula for success. And um, I think maybe some entrepreneurs get in for different reasons and they struggle with that. They
Yeah.
struggle delegating some of those tasks.
Yeah. Hey, well, Ian, this has been great. I've got everything I need to write this story, and I learned a lot about you that I didn't know today. So this has been absolutely awesome.
Well, thank you, Chiedo, for the time, and I'll get back on the road to Richmond.
Thank you for your time. I'll see you later.
All right, bye.